Hey guys, so today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make your own chunky knit blanket. These blankets are super warm, they're super cozy, they make the perfect throw blankets and are great for even gifting for like baby showers or housewarmings, anything you can think of. These can make really good gifts for people. These blankets typically in like high-end stores like bedding stores, Target, Walmart, wherever you can think of where you can get throw blankets, they're normally $100 or more, so you can save a coin by doing your own. It's really simple and easy to make. You can buy the chunky yarn from Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Joann's, any craft store that you can think of. You can buy this yarn from to create this blanket. Now, I understand that a lot of people are not into arts and crafts and they don't like to do things like this on their own. If you really like this blanket, I have my own Etsy shop where I make and sell these exact blankets where you can purchase. I will link my Etsy shop down below so you can visit and purchase if you would like. Now, let's get into how you actually make a chunky knit blanket. In this video, I used 7 skeins of yarn to achieve a large chunky knit blanket. To start our blanket, we're going to form a knot. Be sure it's tightly secured so it will not come undone. But also be sure not to pull too tightly because the yarn may rip apart. And this is how your knot should look once you're done. Next, we're going to go through that existing loop using a pinch method with your thumb and index finger to pull through the yarn to create a second loop. Each loop should be about the same size. I like to make mine big enough to at least fit 2 fingers comfortably inside. You'll repeat this step until you get a full chain with the desired length you want for your blanket. In this video, I did about 35 loops, but you can do anywhere between, I would recommend 15 to 35 loops, whichever you prefer. It's all based off of preference. So if you are looking to do a baby blanket, I will probably do anywhere between maybe like 15 to 20. But if you're looking to do a bigger blanket, say for like beds, toppers, or something like that, I will probably do anywhere between 25 to 30 loops, 35 loops. Honestly, whatever you prefer. So this is how long your chain should look with 35 loops. Once you get to the end of your chain, you will create another loop going upward and move your skein to the other side. I like to put my skeins in the direction I'm going. It's just an easier flow for me. You're then going to pull up a loop by using the top of each chain from the first row we did. Once you're done the second row, you should have 35 loops, the exact same number we did in our first row. Count your loops often to make sure you didn't lose a stitch. I normally keep count in my head as I'm doing each row, but sometimes I do lose count. I have to go back and recount to ensure that I have the exact same number I did in the previous row, because if you do miss a stitch, it can mess your blanket up. The process of making this chunky knit blanket is very repetitive. You're doing the same thing over and over. Just continue to pull new loops from the previous loops you created, and you'll continue to do this until you have used all skeins and get your desired look. Now you have come to the point where you have ran out of yarn and it's time to add a new skein. It's super easy to add a new skein. You take the end of the old skein and the end of the new skein and form a double knot. And no, you will not be able to see the knot in the blanket. It gets easily hidden. At the end or even before, whichever you prefer. You should cut the ends of the knot so it will not be noticeable. Be sure not to cut very close to the actual knot because it may come undone. You can also use this same method if you're using different color skeins. It gets easily blended in. You also should periodically flip your blanket over to make sure you have not missed any loops. Flipping it over, it'll show you if you missed a loop, you'll have a piece hanging out to where you messed up at. Once the blanket begins to get to a point to where though it's becoming too long, I like to roll it up to where I'm currently working to avoid any strain on my back or the blanket touching the floor. Once you have reached the last row of your blanket, you're going to form 2 loops, only 2 loops at a time. You would take the first 2 loops and take the second loop and pull it through the first loop. Then make the third loop and pull through the outer loop. You'll perform this same method until you get to the end, and it will begin to form a braid. Once you get to that last loop, you will end the blanket by forming a knot. Now, after that first knot, you're good, but I prefer to do 2 knots just to make sure that my blanket is tightly secured and does not unravel. To finish, I like to weave the tail of the yarn down into the edge of the blanket. Now this is just again a preference thing. You can cut it, but I like to just weave it down if it's not too long, just to ensure that I'm not cutting too close to that knot, so it will not come undone. Now that I have taught you how to make your very own chunky knit blanket, let's get into the aftercare. So first up, yes, these blankets are machine washable. You want to ensure that you wash these blankets on cold and you want to air dry them. You want to lay the blankets on a flat surface and allow them to air dry. You do not want to tumble dry this blanket, iron, bleach, or dry clean your chunky knit blanket because those things will mess the blanket up. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I hope that this was easy enough for everyone to understand on how to make this blanket. If not, comment below. I can do a more detailed, slower video if you would like. But other than that, thanks for watching and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel.